Yo, what up? It's Eddie from Final Tabletop Gaming and welcome to another episode. So you're interested in Warcry. That's great. Today I'm going to take you step by step on how to get something from the box and ready for table. Welcome to episode 1 from box to table. Today we're going to do the Flesh Eater Corpse, so stick around. All right, so the first thing we're going to do when we get our new box is we're going to do the best part, which is opening it. Like Christmas, right? So we're just going to open our box and we're going to pull out all the goodies. So let's go ahead and get everything out here at once. All right, so here's what we're looking at. So first thing you see here are some bases. These are what we're going to need later on when after you put your miniatures together. He talked about a little bit with doing different basing techniques. That's what you're going to do here. We'll set that aside. We got this fun bag of goodies here. Open this up. All right, so all right. Now we've got some cards that will come with our set, which are very useful for gameplay, but not needed right now. This is actually a really cool aspect of Warcry. It really minimizes the need for different various large amounts of books to play with, like you have to have with Age of Sigmar and 40K. Once again, we'll set these aside. These are your army ability cards, and luckily they come in all different various languages. So you're really only going to need the language you are doing. So we are currently speaking and working in English, so that is the only card we're really going to need. So we're going to hold on to this, and we're also setting this aside. This is only really useful for during gameplay. We're not going to need it right now. We're putting our stuff together. Oh, look, another card. All right, so these are some punch outs, stuff that's useful for gameplay, but really, once again, not needed right now. These are for like life counters and such like that. All right, so this is your instructions. This will tell you how to put your miniatures together. At this point, before you put any of your actual miniatures together, which we'll talk about in just a second, you're gonna need to make sure that there's no decisions to be made, because some will come with options. Here, the Flesh Eater Corpse, we have 2 different options we can build these guys as. We can build them as Crypt Horrors or Crypt Flayers. As you see, the 2 different colors, the blue cogwheel and the green cogwheel, that will tell you what your options are. Okay, so you're going to want to pay attention and make sure that before you start putting anything together, you're going to see what your options are and then make your decision. We're actually going to choose to make sure we do the Clip Flayers, the guys with wings. They just look cooler, and that's just something we're going to go with. Honestly, we have not even looked to see if they're even better or worse, but who cares, you know? It's the rule of cool. Now, here are your sprues. This is where the magic happens. These are the actual pieces to your miniatures. And I know when you first open something like this can look daunting, overwhelming, and scary, but don't panic, we're okay. We've got the instructions over here that tells us how to put together, and it's a lot easier to follow as long as you do step by step. After going through the parts of your box and what's inside of it, you're gonna go ahead and get your instruction manual back out. And as you see here on the front cover, there are 10 of these crypt ghouls and 3 of these larger ones, which can be made as either a Crypt Horror or Crypt Flayer. The blue cogwheel and green cogwheel, like we mentioned before, we'll show you the options. We're going to go ahead and put together just one of these today for you, and we're going to put together the Crypt Infernal. So we're going to go ahead and flip to this page that has the Crypt Infernal instructions. This will be your leader, one of the leader options for this faction. And you see the different directions. Now, if you look at the top, it'll have numbers. The number will be correlating to which numbers you need to pay attention to putting together this miniature. See, this one's 7, so any 7s will be this miniature. For example, it might not always just be one number. The Crypt Flayer itself has 8 and 9, and you can see there's an 8 and a 9, and you need these instructions to put together the miniatures, because there's 2 different Crypt Flayers, okay? All right, so back to Crypt Infernal. And we're gonna put together so we're looking for 7A, because A will be your first thing you're gonna put together. And it says we need a 6, a 7, and a 3. So I'm gonna go and find the sprue that has the correlating numbers. Now the numbers will be on the actual sprue. 6 is located right here. The number is sitting here on the sprue, as well as number 7 and then number 3 right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these out. So I'm gonna need my clippers that Mason was telling you about you would need earlier. The main thing you're going to want to make sure you're doing here is that when you're taking your clippers, you're pushing them as close up to the actual bit you can to clip it. And you're going to do both sides. Now, you won't always get all of the sprue off. That's okay. That's when we have the hobby knife. And a quick note here is to make sure that whenever you're clipping it off, you're making sure that you're only clipping this part off on the bit that is supposed to be with the miniature. Sometimes they have little bits that look like they're not supposed to, but they are. Just double check your instructions of what you've got, and it'll tell you exactly, okay? So any little bits left over from the sprue, we're gonna just kind of shave off here with a hobby knife. And do be careful, hobby knives are typically pretty sharp. I'm just gonna make sure that we don't have any excess bit. You're gonna kind of get your lines and make it nice and smooth. Do be careful and don't cut yourself. Do be careful and don't cut yourself. 'Cause I'm almost dead. That's why I like to have my X-Acto knives dull.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, yeah, you can have this brand new X-Acto knife. I don't need that kind of horror in my life. I can keep my fingers. Now, we're going to go to the next part, which is just gluing them together. And as you can see, I'll get a little closer so you can see a little better. The yellow on the edges indicates where you want your glue to be. So before we glue anything together, we're gonna go ahead and dry fit this just to see and make sure we know exactly how it goes together before I glue anything, because I don't wanna mess it up. Because it's hard to undo what you do. So it looks like this piece is gonna go somewhere like this. Maybe it's here. I think this is it. I think this is it. Yeah, it looks like this might be how it goes. Yep, okay, so see how that fits in nice and secure? You know that that goes there. So that's a good indication of what goes where. Don't mind me, my handshake, because I am, I don't know. And then this piece here, looks like it goes over the top, and that fits in nice and snug. And that looks like the final piece when we do gluing together. Step 7A.
Kickoff return. Tannehill in trouble. Tannehill. Oh, he loses the football. Scooped up. Still free. Bouncing around.
All right. So we're almost halfway done with 7A. Yeah, like I said, it can be a little daunting and scary, but don't worry. Just follow the directions as they say. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put some glue right here. So we're gonna get our nice brand new super glue here. I'm gonna take it out of the pack. I like to make this insane with earlier. I do really prefer this gel, and I like the Loctite brand because it typically works really fast. So I'm gonna go ahead and screw this down so we're actually puncturing into the glue so it can come out. Remove our cap. And these nice handy dandy handles here, which can control exactly how much comes out. Very useful. I'm gonna double check, make sure I'm not messing this up and they're going on right before I actually glue it, because I don't wanna mess anything up. There we go. So we're check, and then triple check. And then we're gonna put our glue, just like it indicates, from here all the way down to here, just like it says so here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put some glue. Oh, okay. And we're just gonna rub this glue, shake a lot, because I got bad nerves. It's just part of my, so if I can put together miniatures and paint them, anybody can, let's be honest. Okay, so as you can see, I just glued that together. It's already starting to hold. That's why I prefer the Loctite and this gel glue. So I can go ahead and move on to the next step. Be careful not to glue yourself to the miniature or yourself. I tell you that, it's gonna happen, expect it, but try to avoid it. The best thing I can tell you though is do not get this stuff on your clothes. It can definitely ruin your clothes. So we're gonna go ahead and continue gluing this down. I'm gonna go ahead and put the glue around the open part here, just like it indicates. It actually tells me to put the glue here. I think it'll be easier for me to hold this, because I shake so much, to put the glue on this part. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and slap this bad boy on here like it says to do. And then we're gonna hold it there for a second and make sure this is good and dry. Now, I can go ahead and start looking for the other pieces. 42, 43, 50, and 41 is indicated here, and while this sits aside and dries. Okay, now that we have our bits cut out and cleaned up with the X-Acto knife. We're gonna put these little bits on this bigger piece. Don't lose your bits. Another word of warning is be careful with these small bits like this. If they happen to fall down into the carpet or under a table somewhere, they can be really hard to locate. So just be careful with them. Try not to lose them. Like before, we're gonna dry fit these bits in to make sure that they fit where they should. And then we're going to glue them on. And I will continue with the steps just like we mentioned before. So yeah, just continue following the 7A and the 7B, making sure that you're gluing the right bits into the right spots. Just dry fitting before you actually glue them. And then once you're done, we'll see you at the finished product. All right, so now as you can see, we've got our miniature piece together. This was probably not the best selection to start off with because there's a lot of spiky bits, little bitty individual bits that kind of took a while to put together. And the arms were a little awkward, but we got it figured out. And if you have any problems with stuff like this, just message down and comment down below the video and we'll try to help you as best we can. All right, so at this point, you should be taking your miniature and gluing it down to your base. And if you want to do some of the other basing options that we have, that's perfectly fine. But we're going to do corkboard, and if you're going to do corkboard, you need to make sure that's done before you glue your model down. So we'll show you how to do the corkboard real quick. It's not overly complicated. If you get these little corkboard tiles, which you can find at hobby stores, we got this one I think at Hobby Lobby. You can find the corkboard tiles. You can also get like the contact paper corkboards, which are a little different. That usually have like a roll up and like a sticky backside. You can usually get those at like Home Depot or Lowe's. So we're just going to take and we're just going to tear off some small piece. Now this is supposed to look like a rock, so you don't really want the flat piece. And now, unless you're wanting it to, if you have your square bases and you're trying to edge it on the edge, you can do that. But what we're wanting is more of a rough rock look to it. And so we're just going to tear off a piece, and you're going to make sure that, unless you want it hanging over, and that's perfectly viable for some for miniatures. I don't really want that. I'm looking for more for just to make sure it fits. So I'm gonna tear off pieces as I see fit to make it fit on the actual base itself. So I don't want any pieces hanging over. And you can kind of play with it if you want a different kind of look to it. And so I think that's pretty good. And then I'm gonna take my miniature and make sure that this will fit. And that's probably pretty good. And if you want, you can always just go a step higher and kind of make it look a little different and glue like another piece here. And so you have two different kind of rock layers. And the arm just kind of came loose again. Oh no, yep. That's also part of the problems. So hold on a second and we'll glue this back on. All right, once you kind of figure out what you want to do with your corkboard and how you want it to look on your base, you're just going to go ahead and you kind of want it to be torn in at an angle. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just, you can use different types of glue. I'm just going to use super glue because it's what we have and it's really quick and easy. And so I'm just going to slap that down on there. Now, just do be aware if you're using corkboard or something like this, you're going to be raising your elevation of your miniature. Which will change the line of sight, so that can affect your games a little, but I prefer the rule of cool. I like my miniatures to look good. Now here's another tip when you're dealing with corkboard. Typically not going to get the best bond with the bottom of your miniature, the bottom of the feet, with corkboard as you would if you were to glue straight to your base. So you may have some issues with that coming undone. And if it does happen, there are ways to go around it. You can actually get some small like little metal pieces, or you can even do something like cheaper and get like paper clip where you kind of go down into the corkboard and drill you a small hole and glue it in there as well, which will make it more secure. Right now we're just going to deal with this. If we have issues with it later, then I can go ahead and go back and fix the issue. I just want it to line it up to where that'll work right there. I think that'll be fine. So we're going to go right here and super glue this down. And then once we have this glued down, at this point, we're pretty good. Now you can do this separately where you're going ahead and you're priming your base, your corkboard base, and then priming this piece and then gluing them together later. but for just simplicity's sake, I'm gonna go ahead and glue our miniature down onto this corkboard base. And the reason why I did 2 layer here, because this is our leader, kind of wanted to look a little different. And the fact that this guy has like rocks and like skulls on his on part of his sprue actually kind of adds to the flavor. So we're just going to glue it down. And now we play the waiting game and let it dry. And then while we do this, we'll go ahead and skip forward to the next part, which will be the priming.
You're the next contestant on the waiting game! Oh boy, the waiting game!
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do the priming. And please excuse the lighting, it's getting a little dark, but we're gonna go ahead and get this done real quick. The main thing you need to worry about is that when you're priming in your spray paint, one, you gotta make sure that the temperature is okay. If it's too cold, you can have some issues with your paint clogging and kind of blotting up on your miniature. And if it's too wet or too humid, you can have the same issue. And so one key thing I can say, if I can tell you as a hint, is to try to get some latex gloves. You can use, there's several different ways to do this, and there's so many hacks and tricks out there. This is what I've always found to be the easiest and simplest way to do it, because I can get more of the miniature painted. First thing I'm gonna do is make sure it's good and shook. And then while I'm painting it, I'm gonna make sure I'm holding it about this far away. And I wanna make sure I'm not getting too close or too far away, about middle ground, and kind of doing a side swipe method. So like this, so I'll make sure I'm covering everything. And I can see how using the gloves, I can actually turn as I'm painting and get all of the spots so I'm not missing anything. If I see any gray, I'm coming back and popping it. And the reason why we're using white right now is because we're gonna be using some magic contrast paint that Games Workshop uses. It's pretty good for beginning painting and simplicity, and for speed painting. And so white works really well, or lighter colors, so gray will work too, for that type of contrast paint. Okay, I think we just about got it. Make sure that I'm getting that corkboard good as well. Now, if you do have a problem where you have too much paint pulled up in one spot, there's a neat little trick. You can actually just blow and kind of spread out the paint and knock off any excess. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, you know the deal. See y'all next time.